Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I am very excited to bring you today's episode because I get to talk about two things that I love: dancing and Soul Train. Just a disclaimer that the videos that I will show in this video is actually me dancing on Soul Train 50 years ago. So sit back and enjoy as I talk about my experience on the hippest trip on TV. Soul Train. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, yeah, it's gonna be that kind of show today. Hi, I'm Deb. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Life Starring Deb. And today I am going to share with you two things that I absolutely love, and that is dancing and Soul Train. I am going to tell you about my experience of dancing on Soul Train. So here is my story. So it was 1972 when I first heard about Soul Train. And I heard about it just because I would see it on TV. I would hear that theme music that I was dancing to, and I would be like, what is that? And I would run to the TV, and I would see teenagers on TV with afros and, outfits and doing the latest dances. And I was like, oh my God, which show is this? And I would tune in Saturday after Saturday after Saturday, and I would make sure that my Saturday morning chores were done so that I could sit in front of the TV and watch Soul Train. Because you know what? In the 70s, we didn't have VCR. We didn't have smart TVs. We couldn't pause the TV. We would have to watch it. And if we missed it, we would have to wait until the rerun, and no telling when that was going to come on to catch the show. So I didn't want to miss Saturday mornings on watching Soul Train in my living room. But as I would watch the show, I would always fantasize about being on the show because you know what? I was a good dancer, and I knew that. And I felt like I was good enough to dance on Soul Train, but I didn't have any idea on how to get to the show. I didn't even know where they were filming the show at the time. I just knew that was something that I wanted to do. So in 1973, I had just started high school. I was 10th grade, and I had heard that they were auditioning for Soul Train in the gym. It was a buzz in the air, like a secret, like there's some scouts here, and they're gonna be picking kids to dance on Soul Train. And I got wind, I was like, where are they? Where, and I didn't know if they were upperclassmen. I just knew that it was happening on my campus, and I needed to find out where they were auditioning, and I need to make myself over there. So I talked to my best friend, and I said, girl, let's go to the gym. They're auditioning for Soul Train. Well, she wasn't a dancer. She wasn't interested in it, and she didn't want to go. She was like, girl, I'm not going in no gym and dancing. And she said, you're not even. Come on, let's go. I said, I'm going. I got to go. So I made my way to the gym. And when I got inside the gym, there were already some kids that I knew. They were already in there, and they were making up this dance routine, that they were going to do. They were going to audition. And they said, come on, Deb, come over here with us. And I was like, I don't want to be part of no group. I'm trying to get in there myself, so I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to just wait and see what they have to say. So the gentleman was telling us, okay, this is what we want you to do. We want you to get on the dance floor when you hear the music and just start dancing. Just, do your thing. Be yourself. Don't be nervous. Just dance. And we're going to come around, and if we tap you, that means you have a seat. We like what we see, and we'll talk to you more about it later. If we don't tap you by the end of the record, then we want you to leave the gym. So I was like, okay. So they started the music, and I started dancing. I looked over at my friends, and they were doing their little routine, all of them kind of messing up. And I was doing my thing. I was dancing. Then after a while, I just didn't pay any attention to them, and I just did me. I just danced because I got taken away by the music anyway. I always did because I had such a love for music and dancing. So I just danced. I was dancing so hard and I was so involved with what I was doing. I didn't even feel the gentleman tap me on my shoulder. In fact, he tapped me a couple of times and he was like, take a seat. I was like, oh, okay. So I went and sat down, and then afterwards, when all of us that were selected were sitting there, he said, congratulations, you guys have been selected to dance on the show. And we were happy, like high-fiving, like, okay, go. And I was trying not to be excited, but I was just too excited. Like, you lying to me. I'm about to be on Soul Train. So he went on to tell us that he wanted us to wear something colorful. He said that he did not want us to wear anything on our hair. He didn't want us to cover our hair because I found out that Ultra Sheen Cosmetics was one of the sponsors of the show. So they wanted to be able to show, our hair, whether it be in a feather style or afro or cornrows or however it was. They didn't want us to cover our hair. They also told us to bring a change of clothes because we were going to tape 2 shows on Saturday and 2 shows on Sunday. So he told us where we, had to go, what studio we had to go to. And he also told us to be there between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning and be prepared to be there until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Well, I didn't drive. That was a long way and a long time of day. And I was like, I don't know if my grandmother's going to go for this because she was going to have to take me, but I was not going to miss it. So I took down all the information and I went home, and I was so excited to tell my grandmother what had happened, that I had been selected, and I was crossing my fingers that she was going to let me go, and she was all in. She was like, okay, now you're in high school. Yes, you can go to Soul Train. And I was excited, so I had to get my outfits together, and I had to get some help from my cousins because I wanted to look fly, I wanted to look good, I wanted to look cool, and I didn't have everything that I needed, but, I pieced together some outfits and followed the instructions that the gentleman gave us and showed up at the studio. And there was a line. There was a line of kids. Some of them, was from the school that I went to, and some that I had never seen. And, we had to walk up to the gate. There was a clipboard, and there was a person there, and they was checking off our names. There were some kids in line whose names were not on the list, and they had to stand to the side. And what I found out is they were kind of waiting for other people that were on the list, and then, they could go in with them. Now, mind you, when I got there, I didn't have a dance partner. I auditioned by myself and I got in by myself. But then when you get inside, you kind of hook up with someone else that doesn't have a dance partner. And then you just start dancing. So made my way inside the studio, and the set looked different. It looked different than what it was on TV because it was a new set. It was a new season. So they had a new set. And I was looking around, and I was excited to be there. But I'm going to tell you, as excited as I was to dance on the show, and as excited as I was to see the artists of some of my, favorite songs perform on the show, I was excited to see the people that I watched every Saturday dance on the show. Demita Jo Freeman and Little Joe Chisholm and Patricia Davis and, Don Camelot. I wanted to see those people in person because I was watching them every week, and they just represented, dancers, good dancers. And so as I looked around the studio, I didn't see them. And I started thinking, okay, is this really Soul Train? It's a new set that I don't recognize. As dancers here, but none of the ones that I'm used to seeing every week. What's really going on? So around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, they started coming in. And I said, okay, yeah, there they are, And I, came to find out that, they knew what was up. They knew they didn't have to be there at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I mean, they were regulars, so they didn't have to be there when the rest of us had to be there. They knew what time to come. And so I was excited just to be in the presence of some of the dancers that I admired, and not only be in the presence, but at some point I was going to be on the dance floor with these dancers, and I was over the top. I was over the top about it. So being on Soul Train was like being at a nonstop party. I mean, you were going to party. You were going to dance, and you were going to dance good. You were going to give it your all because you knew that you were going to be on TV. Now, you didn't know how they were going to shoot you, but there were cameras around, and when that red light came on the camera, you knew that they were filming. And so you wanted to make sure that you were, you were doing your thing, that you were doing the most when the cameras came around. And that was just exciting because it was fun. It was a party. So they taped 2 shows on Saturday and 2 shows on Sunday, and they taped all of the dance numbers at one time, and then they brought in the artists and then they taped those. So on any given Saturday, you might, if I would look for myself on TV, I might see myself in one outfit when we were just dancing, and then I might see myself in a completely different outfit if the artist was there. And that just was editing. You just didn't know how they were going to edit it and how they were going to put it in. So that was pretty, common throughout the show. I might, get on the phone and tell my friends, I have on a red shirt. But then when they saw me on TV, I might have on something different. You don't have on a red shirt. So that was just editing. And so that happened a lot. So I was just over the top excited to be part of Soul Train because it was such an amazing experience for someone like me. And as much as I thought I wasn't starstruck, and I wasn't, when Marvin Gaye came on the show, I was starstruck. Because that's when Let's Get It On album had come out. I was in high school and I was listening to that album all the time. And then they had the names of the performers were on this little board. So I looked on the board and said Marvin Gaye. I was like, Marvin Gaye is going to be on the show. And I got excited. Oh my God, Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye's going to be on the show. I'm like, girl, Marvin Gaye's going to be on the show. Marvin Gaye going to be on the show. It was just like something. So he came in, and I was trying to be cool, which I was, and he was, lighthearted, talked to the dancers, and, made his way to the stage and went up there, and then they told the dancers, make your way now down to the dance floor. So I was trying to figure out, where am I going to be? Not so I can be seen dancing. I just wanted to be close to Marvin Gaye. So I went behind the stage, behind where he was on the riser, and I was down on the floor behind him though, because I could, actually reach out and touch him. And he was singing and doing his thing, and he would turn around and he would look down, and at this clip that I'm showing now, I was so excited, I just raised my arms. That's me in that yellow shirt, just raised my arms like, Marvin, it's so crazy. It's so crazy that I did that. But I was overwhelmed that he was just that close to me. And that's the way it was in taping the show. You never knew who was going to come, but they were always going to be an artist that you loved or someone that you admired, and definitely the music that you listened to. And it was just exciting. It was just very exciting. People ask me, did we get paid for dancing on Soul Train? And the answer is no. We did not get paid for dancing on Soul Train. We got fed chicken, but we didn't get paid. However, when artists were looking for people for their videos or things like that, they would come to Soul Train and they would get their dancers. A lot of people, were discovered from Soul Train. They, were choreographers, and some of them had, movie parts and commercials for sure, and bit parts in movies. And, Shalimar, Jody Watley, and Jeffrey Daniels came out of Soul Train. I also went to high school with them, which was very cool. So people were definitely getting discovered. People were going on to do some amazing things. A lot of the dancers were also fashion designers, and they designed a lot of the outfits that some of the kids were wearing. And so it was just very, very cool. Another really highlight of Soul Train was the Soul Train line. Now, let me tell you something about the Soul Train line. In between takes and during breaks or whatever, people would pair up with their partner, and they would get their routine down pat. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Because this is your moment. This is your moment to shine. And sometimes you would get with your partner and you would practice and practice and practice and practice, so that when you came down the line, you were on point. Your routine was hitting, and you were just, this is your moment. That red light would come on, and that's it. You better be on, and you better be doing it. So coming down the Soul Train line was just exciting, because you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were going to be seen on TV. And so coming down the line was, when I first started dancing on Soul Train, I didn't have a routine with my partner. He did what he did, and I did what I did, and we made it happen. Later on, at other tapings, that I did have a regular dance partner, and then we did make up a few routines, and we do it together. But it was just however the music hit is how the music hit. So I just want to say that we were just teenagers living our best life on Soul Train. And being on Soul Train for me made me like a local celebrity in my family, in my neighborhood, in my school. People would point me out. That's that girl that danced on Soul Train. Or I would be seen, in a shopping center of a store. Aren't you that girl? Don't you dance on Soul Train? I'd be like, yeah, I dance on Soul Train. And that was a proud moment. I mean, at the time, we were just having a good time. We were just partying and dancing and having a good time. We didn't know that we were making history. We didn't know that we would be a part of history. And I'm sure that Don Cornelius never thought in his wildest dreams that Soul Train would go on to be one of the biggest TV shows that aired on TV, or that it would air for as long as it did. We were history making people. And think about it. I danced on Soul Train 50 years ago, and now my grandchildren can pull up YouTube and look at their grandmother at 15 years old dancing on Soul Train. Like, that's amazing. And Soul Train has an exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum. And one of my friends visited there, and she called me and she said, Deb, they have a Soul Train exhibit in the Smithsonian, and you are in there. And I was like, I am in there. And she said they have a loop of a video of Soul Train dancers, and I am spotted. On what clip? Marvin Gaye. That clip of Marvin Gaye, she said it was part of the loop, and I'm in the Smithsonian, and she took a picture of it and she sent it to me, and I'm like, girl, I made it to the Smithsonian. Little girl from the hood danced her way right into the Smithsonian. So that was my experience on Soul Train, and I'm telling you, to this day, I brag about being a dancer on Soul Train because I loved Soul Train. I danced on Soul Train from 1973 on and off to about 1978. I had my son in 1979, and then I went back after I had my son, but it was not the same. I taped one episode and I didn't go back because it just wasn't the Soul Train that I remember from the early 70s. And not to take anything from it, but those first few years of Soul Train that's when we were putting it on the map. That's when we were putting it down. That's when we were dancing. We wasn't trying to, be cute with it. No, we were dancing, sweating, dancing, and it was amazing. And I absolutely loved Soul Train. So that is today's episode on Soul Train. Thank you for tuning in. And in parting, I wish you love, peace, and soul.